Okay. All right. So, So over the next little bit of time, we just want to kind of say thanks for partnering with us. We want to give you guys some fun. Hopefully, enjoy the night together. I'm not guaranteeing that any of the stuff is like super authentic Hawaiian because sometimes Hawaiian authentic stuff is only authentic in Hawaii. And so there was one time I was in Nicaragua years ago, and we're eating chicken and beans and rice, and every meal is like beans, rice, chicken, chicken, beans, rice, rice, chicken, beans. It was always different, but those three ingredients. And then like the highlight of the meal, they took us out one time to a place called Hollywood Pizza, and it was like their impression of American food. And it was just really fun to see how in like Nicaragua they perceived American culture and food. And the pizza was honestly terrible, but it was kind of fun. So not saying that's the way the food's going to be or anything tonight, but yeah, it's the most authentic Hawaiian food I've had today, and the most authentic Hawaiian stuff I've had today. So anyways, go ahead and feel free to keep getting food. We have a video thingy that Abby put together of a whole bunch of pictures over the last several years. So if you don't know kind of very much about Renewal, we started right before COVID hit. So we were at the Doll downtown when we started, and COVID hit. It's a terrible time to try planting a church in the middle of a pandemic, but I guess Jesus knew that was coming. And so there we are. We're starting in the Doll. And from there to here has been a fun journey over the last 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it's been. We've been in this building here now this is our third year. We've been here 2 full years. We're going on our third. So Abby found a whole bunch of pictures from then till now, put it together in a video. So we'll go ahead and play that while you guys are getting food. And enjoy the video, get plenty of food, all that fun stuff. So, all right, Daniel, you want to click the next slide on there? There we go. Oh, did I do that? All right, so I intentionally waited to answer this question until we were back on with the microphone and the camera was going on the live stream. Yes, Emma, you can get seconds. And so, yeah, anybody else can too. If anybody else wants seconds, feel free to go get more. That being said, if you want to try and get, I have another one of these $5 Starbucks gift cards that may or may not actually have $5 on it, but I was told they do. If they don't, again, I'm so sorry. But if you want to try winning one of these really fast, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play a game called Heads or Tails. And this is because I found a unique Chuck E. Cheese coin here that we got like 20 of them left, so we're kind of rationing them out. But this is a Chuck E. Cheese token. It is worth like literally nothing. And so since it's heads on both sides, I took a black Sharpie and drew a circle on it. So the circle is tails, this side's heads. But this is the way we're gonna play. Is you guys are gonna call heads or tails, and if you're right, you get to stay in the game. If you're wrong, you lose and you're out of the game, and we're gonna go till there's a winner. So this is how it's gonna work if you want to play. You can stand up, and you're gonna pick your choice. You're gonna pick heads or tails, all right? And you lock in what it is, and I'm gonna flip it, and if you're right, you get to stay standing up. If you're wrong, you gotta sit back down, and we're gonna keep going until we're there. So if you want to try and get the Starbucks card, Carrie's like, I hope nobody else competes, because right now you're the winner. Yeah, so this is a chance. So yeah, you see, once 2 or 3 people stand up, then like the socially awkward pressure's over, and then everybody can stand up. And even if you don't want the card, you got to play the game because it's fun, right? That's what we do. So, all right, is everybody understanding the rules? If you think I'm gonna pick a head, you go heads. If you think I'm gonna pick a tail, you go tails, right? And so, and you no changing, because like I can see. Right? We can see the switcheroo, you know what I'm saying? And this doesn't count either, okay? You got to go all in, commit, all in, heads or tails. So now that Emma's back from the food line, if you want to play, we will wait for you. She's like, stop it. I love picking on Emma. She's so fun. All right. Did you catch the rules, Emma? No, okay. Heads, tails, pick it. All right, so if you think I'm going to flip a head, pick heads. If you think I'm going to pick tails, pick tails. All right, you guys got your answers locked in. 3, 2, whoops, I almost dropped it. 1.5. 1. Whoa, I flipped that way farther than I thought I was going to. It's a heads. All right, so if you pick tails, you got to sit down. If you pick tails, you got to sit down. If you picked heads, you're still in. If you picked heads, you're still in. All right, now you got to pick again. This is your chance. Am I going to pick a head? Am I going to flip a head or a tail? So, yeah, everybody got their thing locked in. Brad, you got to pick one or the other. You can't just be kind of in the middle. You know what I'm saying? You can't ride the fence in this game. You got to go one way or the other. All right, ready, set, go. Don't flip it as hard. This time it's tails. All right, how many do we got? Yeah, Kevin, I saw that. All right, where are we at? We got 4 left, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so if you're still in, you gotta pick. All right, 3, 2, 1. Tails. It is. You were right, Doug. All right, who else is left? Is it Royce, Emma, and Michelle? Are you in, Skylar, or are you just standing there getting more food? Okay, go get more food. That's right, that food ain't taking care of itself. All right. Are you? Oh, Luke's just walking. Okay. All right, so it's between Royce, Michelle, and Emma. It's heads. Emma got it. It's heads. It was heads, so you won. Good job. Well, Royce, did you have heads or you had tails? Oh, you had heads? Oh, I thought you had tails. I'm sorry. Whew, okay, so it's between these two. I know. Okay, you two got to come right up front here. You got to come up front. And you guys got to pick. You can pick the opposite of each other, or you can pick the same thing, but you're either both out, or, you know, saying it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. First one to make their choice gets to pick too. All right, your tails, Royce. Emma chose for both of you. It's heads. It's heads. It's heads. You got it. Do you want the coin too? All right, you can have the coin and the Starbucks card. Congratulations. All right. So again, there's more food if you guys want more food. So we wanted to just kind of take this opportunity to say thanks for partnering with us and kind of tell you guys a story. There's people I've known in this room for a really long time. There's people I've known in this room for less time and getting to become friends. Hopefully, if you're in this room, you consider me your friend. If not, I guess I got work to do. Yeah, so it's been a fun journey getting from along the way into where we were at, and we're excited about what's going on in the future. And so I thought it would be fun to not just have me tell some stories, but I asked somebody else to tell some stories. I asked a couple different people, and I haven't even talked to them which one wants to go first. And I see they're both gone right this second. So maybe they knew their time was coming, and so now I gotta delay a little bit. So while I'm waiting on one of those two to come back. I should tell you guys, like when we were looking for a building to move into as a church, we started at the Doll Art Center several years ago. We were looking for a building, and we were looking all around town and praying about where we should be going and stuff. And we were getting kind of discouraged because it felt like no doors were opening. We weren't going where we felt like we should be going, or it just wasn't getting there. And then everything was like way more expensive than what we thought we could afford. Just wasn't a good situation. And so Michelle had been talking to me about this building, right? Because Chuck E. Cheese decided that they didn't know how to make it through COVID well, and so they shut down. And so Michelle had been taking our daughter Ashlyn to the mall for some stuff for like a couple months. Was it months? Probably longer than that. It was a while. And so she kept seeing a for lease sign outside on the front of this building, and she's like, "You should call on that building." And I'm like, "It's out of our price range." No, because I was thinking it's too big, it's too expensive. And so I told her no, and she is an amazing, loving wife and prays more than I do probably. And so she's like, "No, I'm convinced, like God's telling me, like you should call on that building." And I'm like, "It's going to be out of our price range." All this other stuff. It's like all these reasons in my head why it's not going to work out to come in here. And after a couple months of this going back and forth, I finally decided to call. And I'd like to say it's because I realized how wise she was, but it's honestly because I wanted to just shut her up. I was like, "Fine, I'll call. I'll get the price. You're going to see I was right. And that this isn't an opportunity." And God gave me an awesome lesson in humility. And I can see how God was working at it all the way along through here. Moral of the story is, listen to your wife. So that's awesome. But being here has been an amazing privilege. It has opened up a lot of ministry opportunities that are very unique to our context. And so I'd like to have a couple people share about what they see or what it's meant to them that we're here. So I don't know if I see one of them is back. Did you guys flip coins about, you don't even probably know who each other is. Are you cool with going first, Eric? Sure. All right, so we're going to have Eric come first, and then the next guy, he gets to go second. I don't even know if the two guys know who the other guy is. That's kind of cool. So, all right, you can do it up here, down there, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. We're pretty laid back. You know that. So this is my friend Eric. I've got to know him a little bit over the last couple years, and it's.
I think we came together to this neighborhood at the same time.
About the same time, yeah. So if you guys don't know Eric, he's an awesome dude. He works with the PD, and I'll let him share kind of a little bit what's going on. And I just asked him to have his perspective of what he has seen by us being in this neighborhood. And I have no idea what he's going to say. He might be like, "Guys, this was like the worst thing ever." So if he says that, like, yeah, I gave him total permission to say whatever he wants to say. So, okay. All right, it's all yours. Okay.
Okay, Eric Dwyer. I'm a police officer. Oh, okay. I'm a police officer here with the Rapid City Police Department. Lived in Rapid City. This will be our 15th year. There's my wife, Jo, back there. We came here for the job 15 years ago. Let me see how I want to start this, John. Let's start this so you can know the perspective I have with Renewal here. Before I was a police officer, I was a pastor most of my 20s into my 30s. My wife and I, we did mission work in China and mission work in Mexico. And so as a police officer working in Rapid and then getting connected with Renewal here, I'm going to tell you that this is such a cool place, and I can almost say for certain, I don't know of a church in America that has ever partnered with a police department like this. And so it's really unique is what's happening here in Rapid City. So 3 years ago, the police department, we started an outreach team. We saw families struggling, over and over, and we'd be like on patrol. When I was on patrol, would be in the house in the middle of the night and would be like, "Man, someone should help that family. Someone should help that family." And then I think as a police department, we finally realizing that we can't, handing out a pamphlet to them like, hey, you should call this counseling service or this therapy service. Um, when you're just surviving in a home, when your home is struggling, it takes so much strength just to get by day to day. You don't even have strength to make a phone call. And so um, we came up with the idea, what if no one else is going to help these families, let's go help them. And so this team is 3 police officers and 3 like social workers. We get referrals from the patrol officers when they're meeting these families and they say, hey man, this family could use some help. Our team comes in later and reaches out to that family, and a lot of times it's a warm handoff to the great community partners here in Rapid that can get them help. And it might literally just be a ride to the counseling service. Sometimes it's setting up counseling appointments and then they're not making it. And so I go and say, hey, what if we had like a safe space close to your neighborhood that could work? And so 3 years ago, the ABC Apartments gave the police department an apartment building that we turned into this clubhouse for kids after school, and then we have a food pantry there. And officers are there every day after school with the kids, and then we're opening up the food pantry for the neighborhood, and it's cool. So, but we realize that as we're trying to help these families, it's hard to help a family if they don't trust you, and they won't trust you if they don't know you. And so our team said, we got to get to know this neighborhood. And at the same time that we're wanting to get to know the neighborhood, Pastor John sees us wanting to get to know the neighborhood, and he's like, hey, I'll get to know the neighborhood with you. And so we started this meeting up at the mall, and we said, what if we just had a coffee time where the neighborhood could come together, get to know each other, and just hang out. And then I think it was John one day that we're over at the mall, he's like, we should have this in the neighborhood. And we're like, yeah, and it was the summertime then. And so John says, I'll bring the chairs. Royce is going to make the coffee. And in the police department, we supplied the donuts appropriately. And so we started having this coffee time in the neighborhood every Tuesday morning. Yeah, we're there. And I think Royce has made, we were counting the other day, he's made like 120 something pots of coffee, delicious coffee every Tuesday. Kathy, I don't know if people know Kathy. Kathy and her husband bring biscuits and gravy and sausage to this time, and so it's amazing. So, but Pastor, we remember that first summer as it was getting colder, Pastor John was like, "What should we do in the wintertime?" And he's like, "Hey, this building is yours." Literally like handing the keys to this building to the police department of, if you need a space to have some kind of community meeting, the building's yours. And over the years, from that first summer until now, it's just a cool partnership that there's times the police department needs to do something in the neighborhood and we need a space that's just literally across the street to host some kind of event, and this became the place. But John had the vision too that if we're going to get to know this neighborhood, we got to start throwing some cool parties. And so we have thrown some epic parties in this place. I don't know if you guys have heard about these parties. They're like off the chain parties. I mean, like last Valentine's Day, we were going to love on this neighborhood, and we said, what if we brought Chinese food to the entire neighborhood? And it was like, that's expensive. We're like, but we don't want to do hot dogs and like Little Caesars. Everyone always does that. And so some of our community partners heard that, and they're like, you know what, we'll support that. We'll help pay for the Chinese food. And we catered Chinese food. I remember when I was placing the order at the Chinese restaurant, they were like, the police department's doing what? We're like, yeah, we're bringing a catered Chinese party to the neighborhood with this church up in North Rapid. It's just really cool. And we had unchis, and that's like Lakota for grandma. We had these grandmas, like 65 years old, never had Chinese food before, introducing them to sweet and sour chicken and an egg roll. It was awesome. So we started throwing these epic parties and just saying to this community, you're worth it, you're valuable, and it's beautiful. And it's beautiful for this reason. and this is going to speak to where is John? There you are. Where did you go? You're right there. This is what's beautiful about his heart. I'm gonna tell you something that's kind of, in my opinion, shady and kind of sneaky. And I'm not talking about John. I'm talking about Christian ministries that at times I remember. I'll give you an example. I remember when I was a pastor, I was a youth pastor, and this other youth pastor would have these pizza parties for kids, and he wouldn't tell them. He would just advertise it as like pizza in a movie, and then right before they eat, he would like give this like gospel presentation, like blindsiding the kids, and it always felt sneaky and shady, and like it's like the kids didn't even know they were coming for that. It's like, that's fine if you want to like tell the gospel, but to sneak it in under the guise of like a pizza party with movies, and the kids didn't know that. They thought, oh, a pizza party, come here. And so I'm like, I've always thought, if you're going to do something like, let them be upfront with it. Don't trap them in a chair and say, hey, before you get pizza, this. I've never respected that when in Christian ministry, sometimes we do sneaky things like that. And I don't think I don't think it's I don't know. I just don't like that style. And here's the cool thing about John. He's upfront, and there's nothing shady about him, and his heart is good. And so when you throw a party and you're going to cater for the whole neighborhood Chinese food, and if that's what they think they're coming for, that's what you give them. And I think it's valuable enough to love someone like that, you know? And we've thrown some epic Christmas parties. Has anybody been at our Christmas parties that we throw here? They are amazing. I mean, we last year Qdoba catered it. This year, a local food truck called Tezi Tonka. It's a Lakota food truck. They catered it. We had donations come in for the food truck this year. It was like $1,700 to cater for 300 people that showed up here. So it was a big bill. And we had some anonymous person who looked at it and said, you know what? So I think we had like 400 come in for donations. Like, oh, that's good. So we had $1,300 left. And an anonymous donor said, you know what? It's worth it. I'll cover the rest to love on this neighborhood. And so like at the Christmas time, we throw these parties, and then in the advertisement to the neighborhood, it's like, hey, we're going to have this amazing Christmas party. Gifts were donated from all over Rapid City, from 0 to 18 years old. Everyone that came here in that kid age range got 2 or 3 gifts, and then John had a cool service afterwards. And so, what a unique partnership between a police department and a church trying to heal the neighborhood across the street. And I'll end on this. When I first started my career in Rapid, and I remember this neighborhood has not always been so violent and so bad. I remember days I used to park on this side of the neighborhood, and in the evening time, I would walk a lap through the ABCs over to Surfwood and from Maplewood and come back. And outside everybody's back door, they're grilling and they're talking to each other. And I'll just walk up and say, man, it's good timing. What's on the grill? And everybody was out, and there was a community there. Over the, I don't know, 10, 12 years, as trauma increased and pain increased, any neighborhood that is struggling with trauma and pain, it's a good place for drugs too, because drugs are a good painkiller. Meth is a good painkiller, and meth has it was taking a hold here. Then we had gangs that were battling out of who gets to sell the meth and who gets to sell the drugs in the neighborhood, and the shootings and the violence. And I remember when COVID hit in 2020, I remember going through the neighborhood one time, and I met this mom, and she said, we just get out of our car, we go into our house, and we never leave our house. And I'm like, oh, right, COVID. And she looked at me, she's like, no, it's not COVID. She goes, we're scared to death to live here. And that's how the gang members, they like, as long as you just keep your head down and you don't pay attention and you don't watch what's going on, just go to your house and ignore everything. But we have seen a difference in these last years because we're like, you know what? If kids are afraid to come out of the house, we're going to bring the party to them. And we've held so many parties out there in the lawns. Last summer, I keep on talking, but I don't know how long this is supposed to go, John. Last summer, one hot August day last summer, last story. This is the last story. John was like, I mean, it was like sweating hot. Schools are getting out early because some of our schools, don't have AC and stuff. And, the school district in this town not paying our teachers in Western South Dakota. That's a different topic we could preach about. But anyway, hot day in Rapid. John was like, what if we set up a slip and slide? This is John. He went to, I don't know, where did you go? Menards, Lowe's? He went to Menards and bought this 100-foot roll of plastic. We staked it down through the neighborhood on this like slope. I went to the dollar store and bought jugs of soap. Dee Dee, the manager, while the kids are in school, hooked up hoses to all these townhouses and brought it to the slip and slide, soap and water. And as the kids are coming back from school, John in his jeans, because he didn't have time to go home and get bathing suit, appropriate slip and slide gear, we're all just in pants and shorts and stuff, and we're sliding down, and the kids are like, what? We're like, go home, tell your parents this is the biggest slip and slide in the history of Rapid. Has to be. There's never been a longer slip and slide than that. And it was so cool. All of the families came out of their back doors, set up lawn chairs, and for hours laughed and played, and police officers and John and everybody were all just getting sopping wet and stuff. And the cool thing is, I had this one mom who's an alcoholic. And she wouldn't talk to me for weeks as I was trying to get to know them. And I was trying to get her into treatment. And that day, I walk up to her and I said, hey. And she's like, hey. And we had a conversation that led to getting her into treatment. And it's just like, so what a cool thing Renewal is right here across the street from a neighborhood of wonderful people that could use some hope, and that could use some faith, and definitely could use some love. So well done, Renewal, and we're thankful for you. So that's it.
Yeah. So, do you ever think about a piece of plastic and some water can change somebody's life? Like seriously. And it's amazing to me how many kids had never heard of a slip and slide before. Like I thought that was like everybody knew what that is, but apparently not. So that was a lot of fun. It's from the 80s. I guess I'm also kind of from the 80s. So yeah. So the next person I asked to share a few thoughts. Like I can tell you guys some stuff about kind of the neighborhood and stuff, but I thought maybe it'd be good if you heard it from more than just me. And so I asked somebody who I've got to know over the last couple of years, pretty cool dude, if he just kind of share some thoughts from what he sees. So you go ahead, come on up here, Skylar. So yeah, Skylar's man, you've been coming to church here for quite a while now, haven't you? It's 2 years. That's about how long we've been in the neighborhood. Yeah. So this is Skylar, and I guess I'll let you share whatever you want to share about what you see. So.
Again, my name is Skylar. Don't mind me. I might be a little nervous. I do, as John said, live in the ABC apartments, Knollwood townhouses. I've lived there for 10 plus years. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly. As a person, I've not always contributed to the better solution of the affairs over there. Recently sober, I think I'm coming on 2.5 years now. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a rocky start. coming later in life, getting my poop in a group, it's a hard concept to cope with, but through John's ministry, the neighborhood, my wife, everybody that I've come to know, love, and accept. Stu, good to see you. You've given me, or it has given me, a picture of a society and a community that I had never once thought achievable. Something that I was willing enough to tear down, I'm now becoming a part of. And through going to church here at Renewal, while I still struggle, I find solace in the things that I learned from John, and I enjoy taking that knowledge to others and outside of our immediate community. I have friends that I preach to and I talk to at work, and it gives me a rejuvenation, to be able to share in that communion, and stay grounded even outside of my presence here. And so that's what Renewal has done for me. And speaking of the community as a whole around here, I see the kids that come through here every Sunday, that are in homes that aren't necessarily supportive, that don't care one way or another, how the life might go for their children. And I see a community welcoming them with open arms here at Renewal, and a safe place where they can be, and like Eric was saying, in the last couple years with the partnership between RCPD and the church here, I've seen people outside of their homes. I know people who aren't afraid to walk outside of their house anymore. But, personally for me, this is one of the best things that has ever happened or could have ever happened to me in my life, and my place in sobriety and recovery. And, I thank John and everybody that I've met along the way here, for the knowledge and the fortitude to keep going, even if you aren't aware of it. You do a lot for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So when we first started on this journey, coming here, I've never been part of a church plant really before. I was like, I don't know what's going on with this thing. We're trying to figure it out and just following what Jesus is leading us into. Which, by the way, that is an amazing, terrifying faith-building experience. That is, did I say terrifying? And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, you read through the Bible and you see like the Book of Acts, for example, or go to the Old Testament, Moses, and like the prophets, anywhere in there. Like, you see miracle after miracle, and you're reading like all these really crazy miracles that are happening, and you're like, man, God doesn't probably do that anymore, right? And then it hit me like, you're seeing like somebody's lifespan in a few chapters, right? And so there's a lot of days that like Moses got up and probably just had a normal day, right? Like maybe he got his coffee. I'm sure he brewed coffee out in the wilderness, or whatever. Like, like they're doing their normal things, and it seems like, maybe our lives are pretty boring compared to there. But I look back over the last couple years of what has happened through the ministry, and what God's doing in Rapid City and specifically in Renewal, and I'm like, wow, there's like a lot of miracles that I can truly say are miracles on how they've come. And so, the whole point of tonight is just to say thank you, because like when we figured out that Jesus is calling us to do this, and it's terrifying, I realized like that we don't have the capability of doing this. Like we don't, right? Like we can't do this. Like I have an amazing wife, and she supports me a lot, but even like together we can't do it. And I realized that we were going to have to like come up with a team, and it was going to take money we didn't have, money we didn't know where it was going to come from. And I remember in the process, like, first of all, if you've never raised money for anything, you should, because it will it changes you. Yeah, so naturally, I grew up in the whole realm of you go work for a job, and if you're don't go begging for money and stuff like this. And so I'm mentally kind of struggling on my own stuff like this, asking people. And I remember along the line having this thought, man, if I could just have wake up and everything was just funded, wouldn't it be awesome? And I don't even have to go talk to anybody. I don't have to we could just if you just woke up and the bank account was full, that would be awesome. And I've come to the conclusion that would be the absolute worst thing that could ever happen in a ministry. And I'm convinced of that. Now, it doesn't make necessarily everything a whole lot easier and going and talking and raising money and trying to find stuff. But the reason why pushing the easy button and getting everything just fully funded overnight, if I could just go to Walmart and pick up whatever, I think I'd probably end up in jail actually if you did that. But the reason it's terrible is because what it does is it robs everybody else of what they could be part of. It robs everybody else of the reward of being involved. It strips the team away from us, right? And so I came to the conclusion the reason it'd be horrific is because I wouldn't have a room full of people like this. I wouldn't have a room full of people who are responsible for some of the stuff you've heard, who are, whether you even realize everything that's going on or not, man, we could share stories forever, but I'm really bad about telling stories, and I don't know, I just kind of, but whatever, I don't get enough of them out. But you're responsible for it. And so we want to say thank you for coming. I wrote down a couple notes that I wanted about this whole thing. There's so many times that Jesus has provided on this journey, and I'm convinced Jesus loves the Red Sea moments. Do you guys know what the Red Sea moments are? Do you guys have those in your life? They're so not fun. I mean, they're fun to talk about on the backside. After the Israelites go through the Red Sea, and they see things, I'm sure they were whoa, did you guys see that? But on the other side of beforehand, it was pretty terrifying, I'm sure, right? You got Pharaoh going to kill you, you got the Red Sea, and literally right before it goes, God opens up, does a miracle, parts the Red Sea, and delivers the nation through there. Those are really cool to read about, but they're not fun to live in. But Jesus, I'm convinced, loves those because he orchestrates so many of them. And maybe he's just wanting to make sure that I remember who's in charge of everything, and it's not by some wild chance how great I am. I remember, if you've been to church, or you probably heard the story a couple times, but if you haven't been, maybe this is new to you. But I remember one time, Jesus, we were tight as a church financially, and I mean, like Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. By the way, he's talking about not having money or having money in ministry. By the way, it's not about you can go to the bench press stuff. It's not about that. It's not about your basketball game. It's about not having money or having money in ministry. But anyways, as he's saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, even when things are tight financially in the ministry. So there was a time we're there's bills coming up, and Jesus has paid for everything so far, and it's been awesome. You guys are direct answers to prayer. You guys are miracles. But there was one time where there wasn't money and there's bills coming up, and I'm man, what are we going to do? And I'm in the room, kind of in this room right here, and I'm by myself. I'm actually standing literally about right here when it's happening. I was standing right here, and I was praying, and Jesus and I have an awesome prayer life in the sense of he's big enough to handle my emotions. And so, anyways, I'm praying, and I'm not seeing how we're going to get things paid and all this, and so I'm venting, praying. Anybody vent pray ever? Kind of not saying this is good theology, but Jesus, what's wrong with you? Don't you know? Can't you see? I think some of the people in the Bible probably had prayers like that, and God loved them. But and so I'm kind of having prayers like this, and I'm so I actually remember saying this, haven't you taken Dave Ramsey? Don't you know you need 4 to 6 months in your emergency fund? What's going on here? What do you expect us to do? And this is probably the time in my life I've been the closest to hearing the audible voice of God. And I was literally standing right there. And I remember Jesus saying, I have a bigger emergency fund than you can fathom. You don't need access to it. So shut up, stop whining, and stay faithful. Yeah, I'm standing right there. And I'm okay. And it was crazy. Literally an hour later, I got a phone call that somebody was donating $23,000 in that situation to cover, they had to convert some stock and stuff, and it got it. But it was just, anyways. those moments are fun to talk about on the backside, but never in the front side. And so, yeah, it's been awesome. But you guys, like, if you're in this room, it's because I care deeply about you. There's people not in this room that I care deeply about too. It's not like just selectively, just you guys. I mean, like, you are part of the like members only club. No, like you can check that off your bucket list, right? No, like, yeah, it's amazing how Jesus has done a lot of things in people's lives in this neighborhood. We've seen people come to faith. We've seen people become disciples. We've seen people get baptized, like light bulbs. That we track them with light bulbs. It is a GFI, by the way. So we did. So when they're like playing with electricity and water, they don't do it at the same time. But yeah, we've seen addicts come to like freedom. We've seen families restored. We've seen broken relationships that are healed. Like, there's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of trust that needs to be built, and so it's a very long, slow process. And I remember there was a family that was here in the neighborhood, and they had the mom had 3 little girls, and it was just a horrific situation I won't get into. But the girls would hang out here all the time, and I think it was kind of their safe place. They'd come to do Sunday nights and stuff with Abby and kids ministry, and we working so hard to try and meet the mom, and for the longest time the kids would come on their own. And then, like, eventually after several months, like, she would walk to the edge of the sidewalk on the other side with the kids, and the kids would come. And then she would walk to our side of the street, like, over periods of months. And then she'd go to the edge of the building. And then, like, she'd come up to the door. She'd never come in. And then we did an Easter event, and she came. And it was awesome. And God was starting to do some amazing things in that situation. And we got to start the conversation. And unfortunately, in her situation, she got into some stuff. The kids ended up with DSS. And I don't know where that family went, but I said, man, it's slow. It's a lot of process. And I'm praying that a lot of the seeds that I know were planted there lead to something, because I think they will. But wherever that is, like, whatever process we're in, we know that that's where God's called us to, and we can't do it without you. One of my favorite stories as a kid, and apparently my wife hadn't heard it before today. I was talking to her about this. I was going to share this story. Is stone soup. Are any of you guys familiar with stone soup? You know what that is? Like, sometimes people are like, well, I don't know, like, it's so big I can't do it all. And so, like, it's amazing sometimes what even like $20 a month does. And the story of stone soup is like, there's this traveler, and he's going to this village, and he's hungry, and there's nothing to share. It's like kind of a hunger situation going on. And so nobody wants to work together. Everybody's kind of struggling. He's like, you know what? I'm going to make some soup. And so he gets out his pot, and he goes down to the river. He fills up the pot with some water. He finds a stone, and he puts it in the pot, and he starts boiling. And all the villagers are kind of looking around like, what's going on? He's like, I'm making stone soup. It's the best soup ever. And, they're kind of curious. He's like, the only thing that would make it a little bit better is if you could find a carrot. Like, we could put a carrot in here, it'd be better. And one of the people, like, I got a carrot. And so they go get their carrot. They chop it up. They throw it in there, and everybody's like, oh, yeah. You know what would be a little bit better is if we could add a potato. Somebody else, like, I got a potato. And you're going through, like, salt and potatoes and, like, everything else, a little bit of meat. And by the time it's said and done, they take the stone out because there's not room in the pot for everything. And the villagers are all eating, and they're like, this is the best soup ever. It's amazing how, like, when you say yes to Jesus, when you jump in on ministry, like, it's amazing what that does in the domino effect. And so I just want to say thank you, because you've helped make stone soup, so to speak, in this neighborhood. The lives that are changed are directly because of your involvement. And so I really appreciate it. So we wanted to have some fun tonight and celebrate all of that. Was there anything else in my notes I wanted to say? Oh, the dance? What? We got a dance coming? Oh, the hula dance. Oh, that might be coming later. Doug's going to show you how to do it. Yeah, that's coming up. So in all of this, I want to say, I know that we're a very unique church in the sense of I don't fit in boxes well. I've come to that conclusion. If you know me very much at all, I don't fit in any boxes very well. And this church, I love this church. Actually, I don't think fits in boxes well, because we're not just a church plant. We're missional. We do things differently because I'm convinced that the gospel is worth doing things differently from. Not that it's better than anyone else. It's just in this context, it's unique. I remember when we first got here in the city, in this neighborhood, that for the first year or so, if I could go 1 week without getting a text message of somebody dying. It was a big deal. If I could go 1 week without a message from either somebody being murdered, somebody committing suicide, somebody ODing, right? Like there were situations where there was violence, and I would have parents, like one kid kills another kid, and I would have parents of both sides come talking to me separately that are in the neighborhood, like, because they're just in grief. They don't know what to do, right? Like, and it seemed so impossible at the time. And I remember thinking at some point in time, I'm convinced this neighborhood's going to be in the news for all the right reasons. I think this neighborhood's going to be one of the best places. I really, truly do, because there's some amazing people here. And this last Sunday, we were having a meal after church, and somebody that lives over in Surfwood was talking, and she made the comment. I hadn't even done the math. She made the comment. She said, "You realize it's been 1 year since we've had a murder here?" 1 year. Like, I was going like, if I could go a week, it was a big deal. And it's been a year. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, but man, you guys are part of that. Like, it's a big effort. There's a lot of things going on, but you guys are part of that. And I want to say thanks. Now, there's a long ways to go, and there's a lot of work here still to do. And is it still true that we're no longer number one for calls for service? I think I heard that from one of the officers. Okay, he doesn't know. One of the officers. Oh, not number one. Yeah, for a while. Okay. So I thought you were saying you didn't know. Yeah, not number one for calls for service for PD over here anymore. It was number one for quite a while, right? Like, this is where it was at. Not number one. So my first thought is, that's awesome. My second thought is, you know what? Now that we know where number one is, we need to go plant a church there. Like, let's chase them. Let's go around town. Let's chase them. And so, yeah, you guys think I'm joking. Maybe you know me well enough to know I'm not. But yeah, it's awesome to be part of this crazy ministry with you guys on whatever level that is. Sometimes some of you guys are in this building, some of you guys are supporting from the outside, and it is amazing. And I just want to say thank you for the whole thing. And I'm going to end with this. Jesus said that, like, your wallet, the money in your wallet, what you do with that is by definition an MRI machine of your heart, right? Like, if he doesn't have your wallet, he doesn't have your heart. Like, that's Jesus, not me. And so, like, because you literally spend money on, you worship with your money, like, you pay for what's important to you. Like, I don't pay for bowling shoes every time I go like I just try to think of something. Like, I don't go have a collection of bowling shoes because I don't care about bowling unless it's with a coconut over there and pineapples. Because I don't care about bowling, but like the things I spend money on are things that are important to me. And so like, to some extent, our wallet is literally an MRI machine of our heart. Like, what we spend our money on is what's important to us. And as I look around and see people that have given in so many ways, especially financially, to the ministry here, and what that tells me is, like, the test results have come back from your MRI machine, and it says you care about the gospel. You care about people having their lives changed, people meeting Jesus. You care about these things. And so I think that's exciting. I think that's awesome. We have a long ways to go. And so as we go forward, like, if you're currently supporting, thank you so much. I want to just say, like, I always want it to be whatever, like, God's asking you to do that, right? Like, I don't ever want to manipulate anybody into anything as far as giving or not giving. And so I'm a firm believer in, like, whatever Jesus is asking you to give, I want you to do that. And as a friend of mine always says, not a penny more. Like, and I've had people say, like, that seems really weird. No, like, seriously, because there might be somewhere else God's wanting you to spend money. So, like, I want you to reserve that money for there. So not a penny more. So if this isn't what your level of involvement, if that's not what God has for you, like, I just want you to be faithful to God. But if you want to get in on this on whatever level, man, there is a lot of work we can do. And so I do want to give an opportunity. It's not expected in any way, but it is appreciated, because the reality is we do what we do because we're empowered by the partnership that we have. And so, yeah, it's a partnership that changes lives. And so I just want to say thank you, guys. If you want to feel like you want to be involved at whatever level that God's asking you to do, I just ask you to do that. Pray about it. And, join at whatever God's asking you to do. If God's saying nothing, I don't actually want you to give anything, because I want you to be faithful to God. And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to end with, and saying thank you for everything. If you guys do want to give, there's several different ways you can. If you've, whatever, that's between you and God. But people ask me, so you can QR code the thing on the thing, the thing on the thing. You know what I'm saying? You take the thing and you do the thing, and on the screen. Yeah, there's the digital way. There's all the old school ways, cash, check in the box, stuff like that in the barrel. However, but above and beyond, I want to give opportunity for people to get the rewards to be team members here. The one last story. I know, one last story. I heard about some elders in a church that they were looking at the finances of the church, and they knew that there was this widow lady in the church, and they saw that she was giving like $20 a month. And they knew how tight it was for her financially. They knew that she didn't have the money. And so they thought they were going to be really helpful to her. And so they went to her and they were like, you know what? We really appreciate your dedication. We really appreciate that you want to be involved in stuff, but please don't give that $20 a month. We want to say, take care of your food, take care of your stuff. And they're thinking they're going to give her this big blessing of saying, hey, it's okay, don't do it. And as soon as they said that, she started weeping. And she said, you guys just took what little bit of dignity I had left. And so, it's a big deal. And so whatever God's asking you to do that. Nothing more, nothing less. Be faithful to what God's leading us. So, yeah, I'm going to just pray and say, thank you, Jesus, for all you're doing in this neighborhood. Thank you for the church you're building collectively in Renewal here and in the larger Rapid City and throughout the world. God, I do ask that the power of your Spirit would flow through this place and that lives would be changed. I thank you for what you are doing, what you have done, and what you're going to do. And we're excited for it. I do ask that you would bless those that have been faithful to you, those that have jumped in and said yes to the ministry here. God, I do ask that you would bring them encouragement and blessing in every possible way that you can through them saying yes to doing this, God. We're excited to see the fruitful years of ministry that you have ahead of us. We love you. Thank you for all you're doing. Amen. All right, so the way we're going to end this thing is it's a party. Somebody asked, does it really go till 9? It goes till whenever you decide to leave. So there's the silent auction that's going to happen. I'll give you guys a chance to keep going with that. But with that being said, we'll give you guys a chance to go back to the silent auction if you want to try and win whatever. We have one more game that we're going to do first, though. And this is how, there's more games, but one more final ending game. This is the way it works. Underneath your table, under your chairs, in the front of your chair, underneath in the center, you will feel something taped to it. Every chair has one, and every chair will have to be searched probably. So what they are is those are starbursts. Now, I don't know why they call them starbursts instead of square bursts. Before you eat it, you do not eat it yet. Don't open it. Okay? Get it out. Don't open it. You will notice it is one of 4 colors, and you will notice it either has a dot on it with a Sharpie or not. So there's 8 possible combinations. And everybody else in this room has one of those other possible combinations. There are 11 of each kind. So whichever one you have, you need to find everybody else that has the same one as you. And once you find, as a group, your collective 11 starbursts that match by wrapper color. Royce is over here flipping chairs already going. Once you find it, find your group. You got 11. Once your group gets together, then you eat your starburst. You bring the wrapper to me, all 11 wrappers as a team, and you're going to win something, okay? So, what's that? Yeah, so there's 88 chairs set up right here. We have 88 starbursts taped in this area. So, the first team to bring me 11 of the same one as their team.
All right, if you have a yellow with no black dot on it.
Abby's going to town here. All right, so she's going to town. All right. For those of you that joined online, thanks for joining. I'm glad that you were with us. And thanks for joining.